You have found the Redhead Family Therapy Guy and a Mic podcast, looking at mental health through a pop culture lens. Hey everyone, welcome to the podcast.
What up?
This is
Redhead Family Therapy Guy.
and a Mic. I almost said it.
That's okay.
It's hard not to say it.
Well, it's, you want to say it.
I'm Michael.
And I'm John, the Redhead Family Therapy Guy with the mustache.
So today we're going to do Interview with John.
Now we're doing another one of those interview ones.
It's so exciting.
It is.
Dig in.
You ready?
I hope so.
It's going to be amazing. This is probably going to be our most viewed episode.
By far.
I mean, likely.
I mean, this will break our record of 1 billion views by double at
100 views.
2 billion.
I wonder what our first video, our first
listens.
long one has the most views on YouTube, I think.
Yeah.
We got to do some more. Hey, people, share our YouTube stuff out there. Come on.
I like the podcast the most. I'm most fond of the podcast, but the YouTube is fun too. It's just we got to figure it out.
We'll get into it.
A lot of work.
We're going to figure it out.
Do you want to jump into your story? Or do you want to share your movie? Do you want to do a hint to your movie? What could the hint be?
Oh, here it is. Ready?
Uh-huh.
Whoop, whoop, whoop.
Yeah. Wart.
What?
All right. So we want to interview John. Oh, man. Where do I start?
So many good things.
Tell me where were you born?
So I almost piped up about this during your interviews, but I thought I should hold back because I wanted to relate and engage.
Hold it back.
So I was born in San Diego, California.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
We're both Californians.
Yeah, we're Californians. I was like, dude.
Represent.
I was born in San Diego, California. My dad was in the Navy.
That is crazy because, as we mentioned before, you served a mission for the church, your church. And didn't you?
Yeah, it's San Diego, California.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was really cool. So we left when I was like 3. And so I grew up on the East Coast. I grew up in the suburbs of Philadelphia,
So what did your dad do in
the Navy?
Navy, yeah.
He sewed things. So he sewed
so like a seamstress, but a military name. Probably.
Yeah, a military seamstress. So he sewed like parachutes and other soft goods. And he's really talented. My dad is really spattily talented when it comes to making things. He had his own business as a furniture repair guy.
Cool. And so doing like upholstery and then doing like the frame or structure.
No, it was all upholstery stuff.
Cool.
And he had a lot of work with that because in Philadelphia there's a lot of antique furniture, so he was always having stuff. And he could just it was amazing to me. I was always mystified. My dad, he always had his side gig where he was making stuff and making extra money down in the basement or the bottom level of whatever house we lived in or whatever. And he would do boat tops on the side. I don't know why he didn't ever do boat tops full time, but he would just go. I would go with him, and he'd get onto a boat. He'd get out his measuring the tape measure. Tape measure, measuring tape. And he'd walk around the boat and he'd be hold this here. And he'd have a scrap piece of paper, the back of a receipt or something. And he'd write down these measurements or whatever. And then he'd go home and he'd sew it all up and we'd go back.
Crazy.
We'd go back and he'd lay it on there and he'd punch the thing with the buttons and he'd be all right, it was good. He could just look at it and then do it. It was
so you're
really
talking
impressive.
about a cover of a normal, I'm not like a sailboat or something.
No, so when they weatherize a boat.
Dry dock or whatever.
Yeah, yep, it would be to button it up against weather or whatever because there's lots of marinas around Philadelphia off the Delaware, and so he was always doing. I don't know why he didn't do it full time because he makes so much money doing that. But
so you moved to Philadelphia, or
the suburbs.
Yeah,
the northern.
You were 3.
No, we moved to New Jersey.
Oh, New Jersey when you were 3,
and we were there until I was 4 or 5, and then we moved to the suburbs of Philly, up in Bucks County. And my whole growing up life, from the time I was in first and second, from the time first grade till I graduated from high school, it was all in the same county. We moved a ton of times, but it was a good school district, I guess, and so my parents wanted to keep us in that school district. So we moved around
Why did you guys move
6 times
from New Jersey to
Pennsylvania?
Yeah,
I think it was just because. Yeah, just because my dad got a different job.
I've not been out there, so I don't.
No. Where we were in New Jersey, I can't remember. I rode my bike through there actually. So Emmanuel and I biked across New Jersey, and we started the Delaware, and we went to the shore, and we went right through the town that like I had lived in as a 3 to 5 year old.
Did you notice anything?
No, I tried.
Too young.
I feel like I recognized maybe a fire station or something, but I couldn't get my bearings, and we were just riding across the state, so I didn't. But from there to where we ended up is like, 45 minutes. You know? So yeah, and the Bucks County is the county above Philadelphia County that is across the water from like Trenton and those major cities in the northern part of New Jersey.
Okay.
So that's where I grew up. Bucks County and the Neshaminy School District is where from first grade to I graduated. But we moved like a lot. Like I want to say a good 4 or 5 times.
Wow, that is a lot.
Yeah. Because my parents, we were just struggling.
So from like just in first grade?
Yeah. Like we moved 1, 2, maybe just 4. Maybe it was just 4 or 5 times. I might be embellishing a little bit.
So whenever I hear Philadelphia, I just think Italian Stallion.
Dude, of course.
So have you like gone and run the steps?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh man.
Yeah, I've been
Is
to
there
the art
really a
museum.
statue up at the top of Rocky?
It was. Like for the
That's
filming
cool.
the movies and stuff, it was there. I think its permanent home now is outside the Wachovia Center or whatever it is now.
So it's a real statue then?
It's a real statue.
Movie prop.
Well, it was a movie prop, but because
the movies are so
yeah, but then it stayed and they kept it. But I think its final resting place is around the arenas down in Broad Street
That's
where the
cool.
stadiums are. I think because last time I was there, that's where it was. It was like outside
Yeah,
the
when I
Wachovia
was
Center.
a kid, I was obsessed. Like Rocky IV, I think, was out when I was kind of that age where I was watching, I guess, that type of movie.
Yeah, so it was really interesting too because I lived, literally like 35 minutes from the city, and we went a little bit into North Philly, but we never went into the city, and I always wanted to as a kid, and I was always bothered, but we never did. And so,
is it far?
No, it's 30 minutes.
So I think of like Chicago. We lived maybe 40 miles from the city, but it took forever to get there.
No, honestly, you could get down from where we lived, like the last house that we lived in Langhorne. It was like 20 minutes.
That's crazy. I wonder why you guys never went.
And my parents they just it was like, oh, the traffic,
the
whatever.
It's a city.
And so it's funny though, so after when I came back from being a missionary in San Diego, I totally I lived around the city, and when Nick and I got married, we lived in the city, and I spent a lot of time. I went to graduate school in the city, so I've spent a ton of time. But it wasn't growing
up.
What
school is that?
Drexel? Drexel University is where I got my master's in marriage and family therapy, and I actually have a master's of family therapy. A lot of people have an MS in family therapy or an MA in family therapy, but I have an MFT, so I could put MFT, LMFT, but I don't. I just put
I
MFT.
thought that's interesting about marriage and family therapy. I noticed most are MAs or MSs.
Yeah, because
social work's not that way. It's a master of social work.
Yeah, if you want to get accredited from the AMFT for your graduate program to issue masters in family therapy, you have to have a much more rigorous and specific training specific to the therapeutic systemic models.
Crazy.
So, like for instance, like most graduate schools for family therapy will do an overview of the models, right? And there's like 5 or 6 models that are the classic models of marriage. I had a class in every model.
That's cool.
So I had a very rich theoretical training with marriage and family therapy. So that's very ingrained in me. And the other really, really cool thing is the professors that I had at Drexel Universities that taught these specific models were second generation. So the guy that taught me Bowenian therapy worked with Bowen. The guy that taught me systems theory worked with Mnuchin. The person that I learned contextual family therapy worked with Naj. So I had these people that worked with the original theorists that taught me the theoretical concepts of marriage.
Is really interesting to me. I don't know if anyone else cares though.
Yeah, they're going to love it. They're going to eat this stuff up. I got to throw out to Drexel as an alum. They don't know if they would.
That was rude. I love you, John. No, I think that's really cool. I didn't have any second generation, third generation, or anything like that in my
No, I'm not. That's
offended. Really cool.
I paid for it.
5-year-old.
I paid for it.
Johnny. What were you called when you were a kid? Just
JR. My dad called me JR.
Oh, yeah, I see that in some of your things you have JR.
Strava, I'm JR Morgan.
That's right.
Yeah.
So 5-year-old JR goes to Philly, and you are like
Suburbs of Philly,
and you're wanting to be like the Italian stallion.
No.
Oh no. Okay,
no, that's not. I
tell
definitely
me
wanted.
about 5-year-old.
I definitely would have wanted to be Johnny LaRusso.
Ooh.
No. What am I talking about? I don't want to be Cobra Kai. What am I talking about? Daniel. I was a huge. Karate Kid.
Yeah, Johnny Lawrence.
You got me off because you said Johnny.
Yeah.
So.
That's true because he's from Philly or he's from New Jersey.
New Jersey, just over. Which is like I said, it was like half of my friends talked like that growing up.
Did you do karate?
No, I didn't do karate. I wanted to do gymnastics, but no, I spent a part of my childhood playing in the woods, and then I picked up really young. I picked up skateboarding.
Oh, cool.
So I skateboarded.
Do you skateboard anymore? I don't think I've ever seen you skateboard.
No, I still can pull off some moves. I still got it in my repertoire. But no, from the time I was in 5th grade till I broke my arm in 9th grade. So 4 years.
You were hardcore.
I was pretty hardcore. I mean, as hardcore as you can be as a young kid. But then when we started getting serious, I broke my arm in a pretty jagged way. I had a really nasty fall, and so I had moved. That was in 9th grade. So we had moved. My parents bought the first house, and up in Langhorne, and so they so all my skateboarding friends were back in the other town, and some of them would come up to skateboard with me but I broke my arm. I wasn't allowed. Like my parents would freak out if I got on my skateboard because the break was really bad, and the doctor's like, if you fall on this, we're gonna have a major problem. And so I stopped, and then by the time I healed, because it took a really long time because the break was really bad. By the time I healed, it was like winter. And then that next spring, I started playing golf. And so from 9th grade till I graduated, I golfed.
And in college, too.
Yeah, I played college golf at Wesleyan in North Carolina.
He's a pro.
No, it was a D3 school. Let's be honest. Come on. It was far from pro.
He's like, oh, man. What is his name from Rocky in Happy Gilmore? I can't think of his name. The pro in Happy. You're like the pro in Happy Gilmore.
I was far from pro.
I mean, you broke your arm. You almost lost your hand.
Seriously.
And you're pro. So I think it's not a far stretch. I can't think of his name. That's going to bother me.
I don't know.
So then tell me about your family. So we know Dad was Navy, and then he got out of the Navy, I'm assuming, when you guys moved.
My mom, my dad's from Dallas, Texas. He grew up in Mesquite. Cool. And all of my dad's family is primarily down in that area. How come you guys didn't
move there?
Because I don't think my mom would ever go to the South.
Okay.
My mom grew up in Long Island, and my dad was stationed, I guess, somewhere up there, and they met.
Oh, cool.
And then my dad married Mom and whisked her away.
And Long Island's not far, probably. I don't really know the area, but it's not far.
2 hours.
Yeah, a lot of that stuff's kind of close.
It's very close together, yeah. So 2 out from where we lived, and I think that was part of the thing, is like we were close. So we would go up there Thanksgiving, Christmas.
Did she work or have hobbies? Or
she worked. So she always had part-time work. But like from that part of my childhood, she worked at this framing shop.
Oh, cool.
And so she worked at a frame shop that was like, not even a mile from the house, from the one place that we lived in the Pendle area.
Siblings?
I have an older brother. He's 5 years older than me.
Oh, okay. So decent jump. So the magic question, where did the red hair come from?
So my mom has red hair,
Oh.
and my dad's dad was a redhead.
Whoa,
so
crazy.
My brother and I are both redheads. I was the more fluorescent of the red.
Vibrant.
I was more vibrant.
Yes.
And stuck out in a crowd. So
then your brother's 5 years older. How do you and your brother get along? You guys buddies? Hang out all the time?
I had a subtle worship. And he had, you're the annoying younger brother. Yeah, I was just the disdained, annoying. I was like Jack. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Or there's a decent separation.
Yeah. So I was definitely annoying and kind of like underfoot and like wanted to do things that he was doing. Like I picked up skiing because he skied. I always endeavored to be better than he was at the things he did. So
you wanted to ski, you skateboarded.
So I skateboarded, I skied,
and
then
golf?
Skateboarding went away. Yeah, and then I was like, I lived and breathed and did everything golf.
What's it like to play golf?
I played in high
college?
school. Well, we were at a small school, dude. It was a really small school. I mean, it was a D3 school. It was a small school. It was a small program.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And it was really intense. I mean, college golf, at the level I was at, which is low on the totem pole, you know, you're on your own. You don't have any help. You're carrying your own bag. So it was intense. It was really intense. There was a lot of pressure, and I didn't do well under the pressure.
They
I wasn't
give you
good.
like one of those car thingies to drive around?
No, dude, you don't do that.
Oh,
That's not.
Man. Can't you get like one of those rollers?
No, dude. That's like no. It's kind of like one of those
that's
unwritten.
D2.
No.
It's just not allowed.
No, you just don't do it.
Either you have a caddy or you
carry your bag. Like
yourself.
it's like when you're hardcore, like that's your thing. Like either you have a caddy.
I wouldn't make it.
Or you carry your own bag.
The roller.
Yeah, I mean, like, well, and the funny thing is when I was in high school and college, I didn't like to have a cart. Like I wanted to walk because it was just more like pro.
Yeah.
It's like you're walking the course.
Around.
I mean, that's part of the the love of the game.
Did you like it?
Oh, I loved golf.
Did
I like college or what were you asking?
The golf, yeah.
Yeah, no, I loved playing. And I had good game, but I didn't perform well. I was incredibly insecure. I was a real insecure through high school and whatnot. And so I think I had the game to play really, really well, but I didn't know how to manage pressure. I didn't know how to manage competing. And so
how much pressure is there then?
Oh, it's a ton.
Yeah.
Like everybody, dude, when you go, because like when you go to a tournament, there's 10 to 15 teams there.
Yeah.
And, so you've got all the teams, you've got all the family members of those that might come or girlfriends or people or whatever. So there's a little bit of a crowd.
Sure.
And so, yeah, dude, it's like people are watching.
What's the risk if you don't perform? Do you just get
score
cut or
you just score bad? I mean, you just look bad.
So it's just embarrassing.
Terrible. Yeah, it's just embarrassing.
And which plays on.
Yeah. Yeah. Shame, just feeling like a failure or whatever. And so, and our coaching, like we didn't have legit coaching at that school. So we didn't have I didn't have somebody helping me cultivate my game because it was a D3 small school.
Did it at least provide some type of funding for school, or was there?
I didn't have a scholarship or anything? No.
So it was just to play.
It was.
Did you have to did you get equipment or anything?
Yeah. We got bag, balls. And there was a driving range / golf place that we could go play for free. The local golf course was really nice, and we could play and hit and play as much as we wanted, hit as many as we wanted. I mean, I would go play 2 rounds a day. I wasn't disciplined. I didn't know how to train. I didn't have guidance. You know what I mean? So I mean, in one respect, I'm frustrated that I didn't, because I think I could have really played a lot better. And I'm decently athletic, and that's always something that frustrated me. Is I never really I played soccer before when I was skateboarding. Well, younger, before skateboarding, I played soccer, and I regret. I decided to quit soccer. I started doing travel soccer when I was, I guess it was 7th grade, and I think it just got to be a bit much. And I said to my parents, I don't want to play, and they were like, okay, but I really wish they would have not let me do that.
Yeah.
Because when I was in 10th grade at high school, we had gym or whatever, and we had a soccer unit, and the gym, we had a really huge high school, and so we had 3 gyms and tons of and a lot of different coaches. And so that semester or whatever, I had the soccer coach, and we did soccer. And so we're playing soccer, and he comes over to me and he's like, "Why haven't you come out for the team?" And I was like, because in my high school, football was big, but the soccer ball and the volleyball guys were really cool. And so there's no way I would have been hazed out the wazoo if I had tried to try out for the soccer team. But if I'd been confident, then I probably could have managed it or whatever. But I wasn't. So that's one of the things that bugs me about my high school years, is that I think I had capability and talents and didn't really live to potential because I just didn't have that kind of guidance or support or whatever.
And so guidance and support from home also, or
any of it. You know what I mean? My parents were just blue collar folks. My dad worked his butt off, and he worked at home, and my mom worked a part-time job. And
so feeling insecure and
disconnected, and
which is I think what a lot of us feel. But it's ever more so when you don't have the support.
Yeah, I mean, it was a safe environment. My parents loved me. My parents are awesome people. My mom has passed away. My dad's still around. He's aging, And, they struggled with addiction issues. That was that was a thing but it wasn't crazy. It wasn't out of control. It was very stable, if you could talk about it that way. And my parents divorced my senior year in high school, which was really, really, really devastating for me because so many of my friends' parents were getting divorced. And it was like, well, my parents aren't getting divorced. They'd been married 23 or 24 years at that point when I was a senior in high school. But when I had decided to go to Wesleyan, I'd been accepted, or I was going to look at the school. And the week before we left to go tour the school with my parents, because part of the reason why I picked the school I did is it was a D3 school. I knew I could probably walk on. And it was near my grandparents, my mom's parents. They had retired from New York down to North Carolina. And I picked that school because my grandparents were 2 hours away, and my grandfather was a real support with my golf. And I knew that I could go hang out there. I knew I could go play with him. He was the one that got me playing golf. And so I wanted to kind of be close, and I was excited to do that. I was excited to make him proud or whatever. And so... that was one of the reasons. So, sorry, I was talking about my mom. So right, like the week that we were going to go tour the school, my mom, because I would call her when I get home from school, and I was like, hey, I'm home or whatever, checking in, and she said, I'm not coming home, and I was like, huh?
Yeah.
She's like, no, I'm not coming home. I'm leaving your father, and I was like,
wow. So you found out over the phone?
Yeah, I was like, okay. I was like, all right, I guess I'll.
Where'd she go?
See you later. She left my dad and moved in with another guy.
Wow.
And so she moved in with this other guy, Larry, who she later married. And then we left to go. So it was really weird because we went to tour the school and we stayed with my grandparents. It was my dad and I, and my mom had just left, and it was just really awkward and strange. And so it was really devastating because my identity just shattered.
What was the relationship like with your mom after that? Did you talk to her much, or?
I mean, I would go see her. I'd go over to Larry. He lived nearby, and I'd go see her. I don't remember
she wasn't necessarily distant or anything. She just had made her mind up, and that was it.
Yeah, and she left, and they weren't. I mean, I knew that they weren't happy. I mean, she was drinking every day, so obviously she wasn't happy. And they weren't connected. My mom was getting drunk every day. So, I mean, through my high school years,
for a while.
Yeah. So, it got really bad probably my junior and senior year.
And then finally she
just obviously was miserable. And
so then at that point you were graduated from high school and you were out at school.
Yeah, I left. So I left.
Would you come home at all, or?
I'd come home to visit or whatever, but I kind of never came home.
Yeah.
So I said that to my mom. I said, when I leave, I'm never coming back. And so so I did. I left and I went to college, and then I got an apartment in North Carolina my second year. I took a year off at school. I worked at Blockbuster Music.
Ooh, what is Blockbuster Music?
So it was like a CD tape store. And so they had Blockbuster videos, and they also had Blockbuster Music. They were bigger in the South.
I do not remember. I don't think I've ever seen a Blockbuster Music.
They didn't proliferate.
Branding also?
Yeah, exactly the same.
Crazy.
So I don't know if it proliferated through the whole country like Blockbuster Video did, but it was just a music store. And so I was like a manager.
I remember we had Tower Records.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what it was called.
Yeah, so it was like a college. It was a really small college town. It was Rocky Mount, North Carolina. And so I went a semester and I took a semester off because I didn't do very well with golf. And so I wasn't real happy, and I didn't know what I was studying or doing. And so I didn't want to go back home. And so I made friends with this guy that was graduating. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he graduated with journalism, and he went to work for the local newspaper.
Oh, fun.
And then I moved in with him or something like that. And then I moved in. Yeah, and so I got a job at the music store, and I was just a manager. And so I just lived for a year and paid bills and had a car and hung out and partied or whatever. And then
so then you're how old at this point?
I would have been 19.
19 years old.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then, I made some good friends. I'd made friends with the Schutz family who were part of our faith. And I became really close with them. I started going to church off and on, and I did that for a year and a half. Mm-hmm. And then I joined the church. And then a year later, I went on a mission.
That's cool.
So I went back to school for a semester, and I got into theater. Ooh. And I loved it. I really liked it.
What part of theater? The acting part? Or
it was stage. Yeah, so stage acting. I really liked it. I think I was decently good, and I really enjoyed it.
What happened to that?
It's just not. So when I came back from my mission, no, actually it was before my mission. I went to a youth conference and there was a religion guy, it was one of these it was like the YSA conferences, right?
Sure, yeah, young
in North Carolina. And this guy had a PhD in acting from BYU. And I was taking acting, so I went up and chatted with him. I was like, "You have because he mentioned a PhD in theater," and I was like, "Why aren't you in the industry, right?" Because I was going to become an actor or whatever.
Yeah.
That's what I was dreaming. I was going to become an actor or whatever. And I said, why aren't you in the field? And he's like, you can't make it in the field and stay true to your faith. And it's really interesting. I for a long time I had this side hobby where I would track every famous LDS person that was an actor or whatever.
Yeah,
and it's really true. There are very few that stay very consistent to our faith and go into the Hollywood world. I think the only one that maybe has is maybe Jared Hess, the guy that did Napoleon Dynamite.
Yeah.
He's still very active. But I know a lot of other folks that grow up LDS or whatever. I mean, I could give you a list of 10 that you'd be so surprised that they're LDS and they left our faith.
You decided to save your talents for
the Lord.
This show.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, so I did that and I really loved it. I really, really enjoyed acting. I enjoyed being on the stage.
So then how much so you took some classes in
I majored.
Undergrad.
I switched my major.
And so then what is your undergrad in?
I got an associate's in sociology because that was my initial major.
Okay.
And then I switched to act, to theater, but then I switched back. And when I came back from being a missionary, I finished my associate's at BYU-I. It was the first year it was BYU-I. And I got in sociology, but they didn't have 4-year programs. Then I went to Utah State. I got my bachelor's in human development at Utah State. And then we decided to come back to Philadelphia. And I went to graduate school in Philadelphia.
Drexel.
Yeah, Drexel University.
So then growing up, what are some of your fondest memories? What are some of the fun things you remember as a kid, teenager?
Well, I loved being outside. I loved just being out with my friends. I mean, the younger years, we lived next to these train tracks and I was just running around with Brian Pelicone and Phi Nguyen. He was this Vietnamese kid that was an immigrant family. Actually, he was the first, I think he said this, I don't know if it was his family or all of Vietnamese people, that he was the first Vietnamese kid ever born in the United States. And his name was Phi, P-H-I for Philly. And
that's what the kid told you.
Yeah. That he was the first Vietnamese kid ever born in the United States. I don't know if that's true. It's probably not true. But he's
sounds like something.
But it might have been his family. It's probably his family.
True. Yeah, maybe.
And
his
I
family
generalized it to all Vietnamese people because I was a stupid dude.
First
Vietnamese
American.
And Phi, I've meant to look him up. He was a ridiculously talented artist. The last time I looked him up, he had paintings that were selling for
really
thousands
cool. So
and
he still
thousands
does
of dollars. I don't know. I haven't talked to him since.
Do you know where he
forever.
lives or anything?
I ran into him a couple times after college when I was up in that area. I had tracked him down or something, and all of his stuff was in the studio.
How fun!
Because above Philadelphia, above Philadelphia, further up the river above Washington's Crossing, there's this town called New Hope, and it was really smarmy. It was kind of an up and coming smarmy.
That's rich.
Yeah, or rich area. And it's one of these little towns that becomes really picturesque. And it was far enough from the New York metropolitan area that I think people drove in.
Sure.
And so all of his stuff was in a gallery there.
Wow.
And I met up with him or something like that. I should try to look him up.
So he's a famous artist and the first Vietnamese
Yes, there you go. We were super tight. He was my best friend through those years. We were super tight. He lived down around the corner.
Just kind of classic as kids, just out hanging out,
yeah,
having
playing outside, watching Saturday cartoons. I was just out of the house all the time. I never wanted to be in the house, partly because it wasn't great, but I just wanted to be out doing stuff. And so I was out skateboarding. I had I had a paper route. My first job was Mickey D's, baby.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Mickey D's.
That's
so
fun.
My first job was Mickey D's, and then Foot Locker. My brother worked at Foot Locker. He got me a job at Foot Locker, and then my buddy, my best friend through my high school years. We still keep in touch. Roger Meskey. He and I met at McDonald's, and he lived in a different high school, a different school district.
Yeah.
And we met at McDonald's, and that was in 9th grade, so I was 14. And so my best friend was an out of school friend. and we got together. He stayed at my house every weekend.
Yeah.
And we worked at this bowling alley, and then we both went to work for this at this Italian restaurant. And so we would work at the Italian restaurant together, and we worked at the bowling alley together. If I didn't have Roger, I don't know how I would have survived high school. Like, he was my and I think I was for him as well. Like, he had a pretty messy family life as well, and we were super tight. And if I wasn't at school or wasn't at work, I was with Roger, and we were out. You know, he was a big football fan. I hated football, but we were huge baseball fans and hockey fans. And so I spent a lot of time, a huge Flyers fan. And so I spent a lot of time watching hockey and, you know, being a dorky kid or whatever, working at the bowling alley.
So
I've got so many bowling alley stories, dude.
Tell me, that's a good one. So tell me first, what is one toy that you wish you still had from your childhood?
Well, I still do have like a bunch of my Hot Wheels. So I was a huge Hot Wheels kid.
Oh, you do have them?
Yeah, they're like around the house. They've all like ended up in toy boxes or whatever.
Around.
Yeah. I had like kept back like
what was
my
your
favorite
Hot Wheel? Do you remember?
Yeah. It was a Porsche. It was a black Porsche with racing stripes.
Where it's at?
It's probably one of those boxes upstairs. Yeah, it's up there somewhere.
What is your
But hold on though. If I could if I could have any toys back, my original Transformers.
Oh man!
So I was a huge,
that would be awesome.
Autobots fan. So I had Optimus. I had was there a fire truck? I had the guy that was a race car. I had the race car. And so those were my beloved, like my Transformer toys. I also had a big Voltron set that I was a huge fan of as well. That broke.
Do you know what
pieces.
happened to him?
No.
Yeah.
I thought I had like when I went off to college, I thought I had like boxed up like 3 or 4 boxes of my old stuff and like left in my house. And my parents must have got rid of it. Like my dad must have got rid of it. Or my mom must have got rid of it when like I was away at school. And then they were like, oh, I don't know. I was like, dude, like I know that I like purposely packed the stuff up so I wouldn't get. But anyway, so yeah, I would definitely want my Transformers back.
So then, is there anything from your childhood, whether it be toy or not, that you wished you would have kept hold of? And it just got lost, or you just decided, I don't need it anymore, gave it away or threw it away. Anything that you can remember?
I mean, I did actually hold on to, so every Christmas, so up in the Northeast, there's a gas company called Hess, and they had Hess trucks. And my grandfather would buy my brother and I a Hess truck every year. So I had every single one of them from all like the first 20 years, you know, of my life.
Are these like die cast, like metal trucks?
No, they were like heavy. They were plastic and metal. Like the first one, it was like a classic looking truck.
They
were like,
so like about a foot.
Yeah, about a
half.
foot. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And I had them, and I kept them all in the boxes. Kept them all in the boxes. And kept them. I had them the whole time when we were first married. When Emmanuel was about 4, I remember we moved in, and I had like 18 of these Hess trucks, and I'm like, what am I doing? I'm like, I'm not a collector. I'm not one of these people that's going to be like, oh, this is going to be worth something someday. So I decided, I'm like, Nick, like, what do you think? Should I keep or whatever? And I decided, I'm like, I'm going to do so. So I got all the boxes. I brought them into Emmanuel's room, and we opened up all the boxes, and I put them out. Yeah, I guess I could have been smart and like given them half. I brought them all out, and like we pulled them all out of the boxes and put batteries because as they progressed during the years, like they did more and more things.
So then, what were the batteries for? Oh, you mean as they like throughout the years they would have more functionality?
Yes, exactly.
Cool. Like they'd light up or something. Oh yeah,
and like some of them like
noises?
One would like carry a jet, and one had like a car inside the thing. Like they got really cool. They were super cool.
Reminds me of like my micro machines where you could just
So I actually had kept those, and
That's cool.
And then now there's bits and pieces. There's a couple of them I think still around in toy boxes or whatever. And when I decided, because I was going to be like, well, if they get broken, I was like, and I didn't care. Like I'm not that guy. Like I'm not that guy that like wants to keep something so that I can make money off of it. Like I cared more that I could play with my kids. So that was something I did keep, but then I just let it become a toy, and the kids played with it. And then of course over time they just break and all that kind of stuff. So
and now you look back and a tear forms.
What's that?
Tear forms.
No.
Falls down.
No, not one bit. I don't care.
So now I'm interested about the bowling alley. So what's the craziest story you have from your bowling alley days? Something, entertain us.
Oh, I don't know, dude. I wish Roger was here. We should interview Roger.
Would he have crazy?
Oh yeah. It was just a crazy environment.
What's one story you remember that just sticks out? Like something that happened.
Well,
that you won't
this is
ever
the thing.
forget?
Here's the thing is like all the stories that are coming to my mind are all these nefarious things that we did.
Yeah,
Like,
we want to hear it. Tell us. Tell us.
So we worked. I can't remember if it was Friday night or Saturday night. We worked. I think it was Saturday night, and it was moonlight bowling. And so we worked. We would go to work at like 9:00.
Sure.
And they had moonlight bowling where they'd shut all the lights off, and it was all black lights.
Yeah.
And
cool.
people would come, and they'd pay a fee to get in, like $10 or something like that. And then there were these pins that were mixed in, and they were called money pins. And so there would be like a yellow one, a blue one, and like a red one. And if the pin ended up as the front pin, it was a money pin, and they'd be like, hey, money pin, money pin. And so we were like stationed like throughout the bowling alley. And so it'd be like a blue money pin. And so if like the blue pin fell and they got a strike, they'd get like a buck.
Oh,
and so we would like dish out the money. So we'd like dish out the like $1, or it was $1, like $2, and maybe $3, so $1.50. I don't remember. And then they could get like the $25 money pin.
Wow.
And the $25 one, it was a blue pin in the front, and then the other color pins in the 7, 10 pin position.
So this was completely random then.
It was completely because they were just mixed in, right?
Okay.
And so they'd be like, money pin, money pin. But one of the guys would like say to people like, hey, I'll set it up for you. And if you get it, you give me 10 and you can keep 15. Right? So we did.
Side gig.
Well, and then
side hustle.
Right. Well, and then here we are, like 15-year-old kids, and we had to dish all this money. So we had to take the guy that ran it would like give us like, $30 of quarters. And so it's like, yeah, how many rolls of quarters do you think disappeared like during the money pin night, right? You know what I mean? I bought more CDs at the record store around the corner for my
bonus tonight.
And so I don't know how they made money. I'm not even kidding you. Like they were legit like Italians.
It was a long.
Like I think it must. I don't know how it wasn't. Like I'm not kidding you, because I would take a couple rolls of quarters, whatever, but some of the guys that work there, dude, would like take like a lot of money.
Like too much money for them to survive.
Yeah. Like it's like
how'd the bowling
he
alley
just
do it?
took $200. Like how much did they make? Like I'm not kidding you. Like
that's crazy.
It's really crazy. I didn't ever sin that poorly, but I did walk out with some rolls of quarters over the years. And so it was really fun. So then we wouldn't finish till like 2:00 in the morning.
Wow.
And there was all these video games, right? So we'd go and clean up, and it was, of course, just gross. You know what I mean? And it was like this basement bowling alley, too. I have so many great memories of And I did it with my best friend, Roger, right? And these two other guys who were like just these punks from local town or whatever. And so, so we'd finish up to 2:30, 3:00 in the morning. And then there was all these video games. And then we would play like our boss, Vinnie. Like literally, that was his name, Vinnie. He was the third.
Sounds
right? And so we would play. Did you ever know NBA Jams?
Yeah, I don't think
it was
I
like
ever
2-on-2.
played.
It was like 2-on-2, and there was this big video game. So the four of us would get around NBA Jams, and we'd play for like another hour.
Jeez,
and then
you were how old? You were 15?
Yeah, like 15, 16, 17. I think no. So it would be 10th grade. So whatever.
Okay,
10th.
so
10th,
15, 16.
So I did this my whole high school career. Every Saturday, I worked at this bowling alley for my whole high school career with my buddy.
That's awesome.
And we'd finish up at like 3 or 3:30, and we'd go over to Denny's, and then we'd eat like Denny's. And then we'd go home, and my house was literally behind the bowling alley.
Wow.
And so, he'd stay at my house every weekend because we worked together.
Yep.
And dude, we spent so much time together, dude. So we'd get in at like 4:00, 5:00 in the morning or whatever, and then we'd sleep all day, and then we'd go play or whatever and just do stuff. So, or we'd go work.
And we made a killing.
So it's so funny though. Listen to this. The last time I was in Philadelphia, it's a couple years ago. Vinnie owns another bowling alley.
Oh, he's still in this
No, it's different because that bowling alley, he sold it, and he was going to build like this mega bowling alley, but like it never happened. It never materialized. I don't know what happened.
He gave away too much.
I don't know. I don't know. And so, but he has now since bought another bowling alley, like in the town over from that town that I used to live in, Morrisville. This little place. I don't know if he still does, but when it was like 3 years ago or something like that. We went, and my buddy Roger and I, he's like, dude, Vinny owns another bowling alley. I was like, are you freaking kidding me? He's like, we should go by. And so we went by, and he was like out to lunch or something like that. So I was so bummed that we didn't get to see Vinny. But
so
dude,
the question
crazy.
is Vinny good at bowling?
His dad, his grandpa was like a pro. Like,
really?
Like one of the pro bowling. Like, I don't know if that's how he made his money or whatever.
That's
like
cool.
Vinny Senior was he like old school, dude. And they had a senior bowling league, and he still brought it, dude.
That's cool.
Like he would be up over 270.
Wow.
There was a bunch of signs on the thing. He bowled 300s there. I mean, he was legit bowling.
That's cool.
Yeah, isn't that hilarious?
Those are fun stories.
Yeah, like a huge
alley.
part of my of high school life was spent in a bowling alley. Yeah, my buddy actually got a job there, and he like worked there during the week.
Cool.
Like, and he became a mechanic. Roger did a lot of mechanics on the bowling stuff. It was dangerous, man.
Oh, I bet.
And we would go back there, like when we would drop those pins in, or we'd have to reset them. Like they were like old school. Like you could lose an arm, dude. It was pretty intense. And there was all kinds of nudies on the back wall of the bowling alley.
But people just like
the mechanic guy. It was just a mechanic. Yeah, it's just like inappropriate.
Yes. Good place for a 15-year-old.
Perfect place for a 15, 16-year-old kid to be working. It was great, though. I loved it, man. So much fun. So, yeah, that was high school.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, the movie.
Oh, are we transitioning?
Wart.
So, the movie that I picked to discuss, so this is a beloved movie. I actually had a movie poster. So my parents, we were early in on having a VHS tape player.
Oh, wow.
At home. Like we had the one that popped up.
Wow.
That you put in and then pushed it down.
Holy, it's all that bowling alley money.
A 5-star video. My parents like became friends or whatever with the owners of 5-star video by Oxford Valley Mall. And so consequently, we could get movie posters.
Oh, that's
and so
cool.
I had tons of movie posters, and I had the Sword in the Stone movie poster. It was gigantic,
cool.
and it was on my wall forever.
What happened to it?
Oh, I'm sure it just got destroyed over the years, you know. But Sword in the Stone is definitely, as far as Disney movies go,
it goes back pretty far too. I mean, I think it's 60s or 70s, something like that.
But that was by far my favorite movie as a kid, and I definitely identified with Wart, you know, feeling skinny and goofy and
so funny. It's Wart. Is that his name? I can't remember.
No, it's Arthur.
Yeah,
King
that's
Arthur.
Right. It's
yeah.
Duh.
And so yeah, I think I just really identified. You know, the older guy who's like the adopted family is like, you know, is like my big older brother who was like, you know, not very nice to me or whatever at the time, and so yeah, like I just think everything about that movie just is. You know, I loved, I mean, the thing that strikes me, I think one of the things I love about movies is I love movies that have mentors.
Yeah.
Right. And so the fact that Wart or Arthur has Merlin as a guy, like, you know, Karate Kid was another movie. I love another movie I loved as a kid was Vision Quest and Flyers, the cycling movie.
Yeah, with
Kevin Costner. Yeah. Like all those shows, like I loved that somebody was training or working on something or had a journey to go on or whatever.
Yeah.
And so my favorite parts of Sword in the Stone are when he's changed into, you know, a squirrel.
The animals, yeah.
Yeah, he's changed into a squirrel. He's changed into a fish. He's changed into a bird.
I loved it when he was changing into the squirrel. Like they were changing the squirrels as a kid, and then they had like the little flirty stuff. Like I always thought that was so silly.
Cool. Yeah, I loved it.
I loved it when my girls were watching it with me. They thought it was so silly when the one chipmunk squirrel liked Merlin.
Yeah. He's like, knock it off. Yeah, she's all like,
that's
she's all trying to seduce him.
I always loved as a kid.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
I love like what you're talking about. I really noticed that throughout this, there's this real strong message of building, you know, resilience, building this capability within Arthur and this knowledge that, hey, you are capable, you are strong, you can do this. I have faith in you. You're able to move forward. despite whether you may think you can do it or not. And I love that is the teaching style that I see Merlin, or at least jumps out to me, that Merlin is using throughout these different lessons, is you have that inner strength. And I think we all have an inner strength, but how often do we fail or forget or we just don't see that?
Yeah, I think one of the other things that I love about that story, or it speaks to me, is that, Arthur is this adopted kid, like without a family, but there's something important about him, right? Like he has a destiny.
Yeah.
There's something special about him. And I think that was something that I wanted or hoped for or believed maybe, that there was something special inside of me and that there was something that I was destined for that was greater, or I wanted to be destined for something that was greater than the mediocrity. I think that that's a real narrative. I felt very mediocre, like I was mediocre at high school golf. I was mediocre at college golf. I was a mediocre student. There wasn't things that I would had executed greatness like I believed or wanted to or could or whatever. You know what I mean? So that was a real theme.
We want to have some uniqueness.
Yeah, definitely.
We want to feel special.
Oh, I was unique as a kid. A goofy redhead. I definitely was unique as a kid. My dad always said that my dad from when I was a little kid, he's like that I marched to the beat of a different drum. He always said that all the time.
You were a little Wart.
I think too, there was just an innocence. I was really naive.
Mm-hmm.
I think I have a decent amount of wisdom. That's why I love Yoda so much. I connect, but I think there's a really interesting aspect of wisdom that's also naive.
Sure.
Because I think when you are wise or are attracted to those ideas, there's just this basic faith in the things that are right. And so I don't think I conceived of that there was bad things. I sure there was danger, there was problems, but I think there was just this part of me that was well, you just do what's right? Yeah. People do what's right.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? People don't actually be like a villain or whatever. There's a real naive, and I think that I was really naive. I was definitely a late bloomer, socially and intellectually. You know what I mean? I didn't hit my stride until my late 20s, mid 20s.
And so kind of this yearning to be something that you maybe in some sense know you can become, but are struggling to see maybe the path to that.
That's definitely it. I think that's one. Yeah, I didn't know the way.
Yeah.
And I think for me, joining our faith really put that out there. It really gave me a roadmap, and it gave me guides, and it gave me surrogates to follow. I definitely did. I had some different individuals in my path. When I made the decision to join the church, and then in my mission experience, I had some people that were really guides for me.
Gaining a sense of purpose, right? A sense of understanding.
Absolutely.
As to how can I
a framework.
Yeah. How can I find this purpose in this life and provide, really provide meaning to what I'm doing.
Yeah. That's really how I make sense of how I get through life, how I let things go. It's what matters. You know what I mean? So I think, the faith decision for me really gave me a framework for which this is what matters. You know what I mean?
Well, that's a great question. How often do we ask that to ourselves? I think oftentimes we get sucked into whatever is causing the fear or the anxiety or the sadness, the worry. And we maybe fail to slow down, take a second and just ask what really is important, or what matters, or what's crucial in this moment. Trying to give us some separation, slow that process down is tough.
Yeah, and all of that really is what led me to becoming a family therapist. After my mission experience, I wanted to continue to help folks. I wanted to do good, and I went to work for this AmeriCorps nonprofit called City Year, which is still around.
What did they do? What type of nonprofit was it?
So the service work that City Year did in Philadelphia, and I think this is kind of what their mission is now. Is it was service learning support in schools. So I worked in the inner city schools with youth, fourth graders, eighth graders, and high school kids, in helping support them. And because Philadelphia at the time had this required service learning component, right? So that there was learning that required youth to be involved in some kind of service project.
Oh, cool.
So there was application to theoretical stuff you learn at school.
Sure.
So we helped provide those service opportunities.
So
we
like
worked
practical
with,
knowledge
yeah,
type stuff.
exactly. And so I worked with fourth graders, I think primarily with fourth graders as a core member. And then I became a project manager. I became a team leader at that organization.
That's cool.
When I met Nicola.
How much did you like that job? That sounds like
I loved
a
it.
fun job.
But it was part of there that really because I didn't know. I just knew I wanted to help people. So I ended up at this nonprofit, and I really had like a profound awakening because I don't know, like I had probably the prejudice of like, oh yeah, like inner city people are bad because there's a lot of crime and all this kind of stuff. But then when I worked with these kids, I was like, these kids are just good kids.
Yeah.
You know, they're just coming up in really difficult environments. And so it was like, well, how can I really help kids? Like, how can I really help families? And then it was like, so then when I went to university during the summer, and I had a course, and one of the professors of one of the courses, it was like a general course, a religion course, and he was a PhD in MFT, and he would teach the religion class, and he talked all the time about theoretical principles of family therapy. And so I started chatting with him, and I was like, that's it.
Is that kind of what led you down
Yep.
the marriage family? Because there's a few different tracks you can go with therapy.
And so I was like, oh wow, you can like actually make a living or whatever, and you know, like the money was good, and so I made the decision like right then. So then I finished, I went back and I worked again for another half a year. I wasn't married at that point yet. Nick and I were dating at that point. And then we got married, and then I went back to school, and I finished my associates.
So she was living in Idaho then at the time also. Is that where you met her? She was back east.
Philadelphia.
Okay.
Yeah, she was finishing up her dental hygiene degree when we met at church.
So you were back home, and that's what you're saying. You're back home working at home, not in Idaho. Is that what you're doing? Oh,
yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
And then we got married, and then we went to school together. We moved out there together when we were first married.
And was she done then with dental hygiene, and she just worked as a dental hygienist?
No, she didn't initially get her license right away, and then we had a kid come. And she got licensed during those years. She first really worked. She worked some, but she didn't work in Idaho because she was just pregnant and the baby and all that. So she started working in Utah when I was at Utah State.
Yeah.
She licensed in Utah. And then she worked, we were there for 3 years, and she worked a lot. She worked full-time during the summers, and then during the school year, she'd work a little bit here and there. Because she made so much good money, dude. She made like $30 an hour. No, probably was $25 an hour.
So Drexel's a great school, but what made you decide to go? I mean, that's all the way across the country.
Yeah, so we were out west. Well, she was from, my wife had grown up, she's a Brit, but she had grown up in northern New Jersey. And my brother and my family was all back in Philadelphia. So we weren't gonna settle in Utah, dude. And so I got accepted to did I apply to Purdue? I can't remember if I applied to Purdue. I got accepted at Drexel. I got accepted everywhere I applied, and there was 4 different schools. And so I was trying to decide between Appalachian State in Boone, North Carolina, and Philadelphia, and Purdue. No, which one is in? Is it UVA?
Purdue's in West Lafayette, Indiana.
Yeah, that's right. So it was UVA.
Okay.
So I got accepted to UVA, and they were in like that's Blacksburg, somewhere in there. Where is UVA at? University of Virginia.
Yeah.
Which one? I don't. Whenever one of them has a campus in the DC area.
Arlington.
Yeah.
University of Virginia, Arlington? No.
Anyway, so the graduate program there, and I got accepted there. That was a 3-year program. And I was just itching to get going. I kind of regret not going to UVA because I think I probably would have had a full ride.
Oh, man.
Yeah, and I just didn't know, dude. I didn't know anything about money, anything about finances. And Drexel University was a boatload of money. It was so much money.
I bet.
And so, financially now, I regret, not going to the school.
This is a good lesson.
I just didn't know anything. My parents, nobody in my family had gone to college. Like, I had no idea, dude. I had no clue.
You don't have to go to an expensive school or the best, the highest ranked school. You can.
I'm really grateful. I got a great education. Yeah. And so anyway, I had a bunch of different universities to pick from, and we decided to go back to Philadelphia because that was where family was from. Mm-hmm. And I had a great educational experience at Drexel. I loved it. I was in a small cohort. I had great professors, and really, I had a mentor. mentor, Alphonse Pignataro. The guy is still working.
Is he really?
Yeah.
Oh
I just was
goodness. How old
messaging.
is he?
He's in his 70s.
Oh,
I just
okay.
was messaging
That's not
him.
too bad.
I was just messaging him the other day through LinkedIn. He's still practicing therapy in Philadelphia.
Oh, not when I'm 70.
He is awesome, dude. And he was really what I needed. He was a fantastic mentor for me. Because it was funny, too. I was talking to our director or our placement director or site director or whatever. And I said to her, I said, listen, I really need a mentor. I need somebody that can guide me and really... And she goes, I know who. She's like, Alphonse. And I was like, okay. And he was the school counselor for this charter school in Philadelphia, and he had a private practice. And I want to say he's a CSAT, like, because he specialized in sex addiction. Like, he was a recovering sexaholic. And he was Italian. He had swag, dude. And I freaking love this guy. He was such a father figure to me when I was in graduate school. And so I'd go do supervision at his office. He had this smarmy office in a high in one of the buildings in Philadelphia. And so I'd go and chat cases with him and stuff. He was just, and I kept him my whole graduate career.
Wow.
Like, usually you site switch, but even when I site switched, I kept him.
That's cool.
And so I got to have him as my mentor my whole graduate school career, and he was just a really important support for me in those years. So
that's really awesome. So what you kind of talked a little bit about Sword in the Stone and what you enjoy, but why pick this movie? What about it is the reason that you decided I want Sword in the Stone?
I think it's just really. I mean, it's that sense of journey, that sense of him discovering who he is. Like I said, I loved, the life lessons that he learned in this really interesting way by being turned into animals. I also love the squirrel thing. I thought I always wanted to be if I was going to be an animal as a kid, it was like a cat or a squirrel.
And so it sounds like you maybe have had these moments throughout your life where you have had these mentor type roles. You just mentioned one.
Well, he was a big one. Yeah. And my mission experience, I definitely had one. In high school, not so much. I felt like I was kind of rudderless in that way. I don't know if I had somebody I felt like was looking out for me in my high school years. But beyond that, for sure.
So what does the mentor provide for you, do you think? As you look back, what has it provided for you that's enabled you to be where you're at now?
Well, one of my greatest mentors for sure now is R.L. Pitcher. He was a consultant. I can't remember the group that he was a consultant for out of Boston. And he's just a really smart, dynamic guy that I worked with in my mission experience as my mission president. And I've kept in touch with him over the years. I don't know, just like having somebody, I guess because my parents are just incredible, hardworking, good people. My mom was really wise, just really gracious and wise. My dad was real fun-loving, real outgoing, really loved people and family in that very Southern Texas way. And my parents provided, and we had a stable-ish, but I don't feel like I got guided towards becoming a professional or in my golf, like I said, or whatever. And so I think, I've always wanted those characters. And so I've tried to find those people that could, kind of chart the course for me, because I didn't feel like I had it growing up, And so I wanted to be better. I wanted to do more. And so I think this movie speaks to that and these experiences that I had of people that kind of guided the way.
Which is really a neat concept.
That's why I love Yoda as well.
That we can be better together, right? Instead of on our own. And it kind of, we get this notion sometimes of this like self-reliance concept where I need to be independent or capable on my own. But I think true self-reliance is understanding
who to go to.
Yeah. How do we connect with others that allow us to grow and move forward in a healthy way?
You can't. I mean, there are definitely people that, are pioneers in industries or areas of their lives, but
I'm sure they still had.
I bet they did. I bet they did. And I just love that whole. I just love that whole thing. That idea of working hard, of learning through failure, of getting after something, cultivating capability. Just that whole. I just love everything about that. You know what I mean? And so and I think that's why in our place of work, I've consistently sought the opportunity, and I've had interns. I've had interns almost every year that I've worked for Family Services, save just a couple, because I want to provide that for folks. I want to be a guide in helping them develop their professional identity, and
it provides I think meaning and for me it's fun when I can work with someone, and it makes me feel good.
Yeah.
And I think that at the same time that it makes me feel good that I can provide maybe something, I feel like I learn also. Mm-hmm. And it's really kind of this symbiotic relationship.
Well, because you're challenged, right? They'll challenge you with questions you hadn't thought of.
Sure.
And so then you have to like stretch to, engage in that. Yeah, having an intern keeps me real theoretically sharp.
Well, and it kind of goes to this idea of maybe just friendship or relationships, and having this relationship with people or with others where we can learn from each other, right? Maybe I have something to offer, but I can also learn from you. And I think that we can, if we open our mind to that, I think that can really be healing and also enable us to find purpose, meaning, direction in life, maybe quicker than.
I think one of the other things I love about the Sword in the Stone movie is, Wart, this skinny, 12-year-old, 11-year-old, 13-year-old, whatever how old he is, doesn't, like, he's weak, right?
Yeah.
But he's able to draw the sword from the stone, which it's
so
like,
it's
seen, like, it's seen that you need somebody strong.
Yeah.
It's like, no. That's so one type of strength. Or it's
right?
like, well, what
is strength?
Right. What's the type of strength, right? Because you think, oh, well, you need to be physically tough. Mm-hmm. But, something that Wart had, hold on, give me a sec. So something that Wart had in the movie was he had character, right? Because when the adopted family gets upset with Merlin, like, he stands up for him, and he actually is told, well, you don't get to be the squire at the thing, because he mouths off because he's standing up for Merlin. And so he had character and strength, and he was good and good-natured and worked really hard at everything he did. And so I love that juxtaposition of, here's this scrawny kid pulling the sword that doesn't even have the strength to like hold it, out of this stone, and here he is, this little kid. So he had an inner strength, which is, I guess, the origin story of King Arthur and the Round Table and all that.
Yeah, I think that's a great message sent that leadership isn't just about being the great fighter or the big burly person, right? The strong, physically strong person.
Yeah, because Merlin's always trying to like send this message of intelligence and smarts and knowing things. Do you know the other sorry. The other thing that I loved from the movie, the other thing I loved about the movie was the whole, I definitely was a D&D kid. And the magic and the duel between Merlin and
the witch lady.
I love that scene. That's my favorite scene in the movie. One of my favorite scenes in the movie, where Merlin and her.
Yeah.
And I loved how creative they were with picking which animal they responded to in their duel or whatever. And I just always thought that was the coolest, most magical.
Yeah, that was a funny part. And when she became the lady, they said they referenced someone. I can't remember who I was thinking of. Or no, maybe that's a different movie I'm thinking of. But yeah, when she would change around to different
characters or animals,
personages, animals
like rhinos and rabbits and
I remember
crabs.
As a kid thinking like her animation was just so like vibrant, because a lot of the movie is kind of like the blue hues. I feel like
it's like really gray,
and then she is like a bright color, like she's off. I guess
she's purple. And
I guess Wart,
pinky.
Doesn't he have like red on him or something at some point? But anyways,
it's a grayer like hue to the whole movie.
Yeah. And I like the magic part.
Yeah.
But so magic is always cool.
Yeah, it's very cool.
I think that's when I was watching that part, I think in my mind, or right after the movie, in my mind popped in the movie Willow. Oh. And I think I mentioned to you, I was like, oh man, Willow's one that I used to watch as a kid all the time. You idiot.
Do you remember? One of the other movies I loved as a kid We got to do this one too. It's the Dark Crystal, dude.
Oh yeah. So
love.
Then we could do Dark Crystal and then Age of Resistance.
How could I not talk about this? Okay, so during my childhood, how could I not talk about this?
Oh man, rewind. Okay.
Rewind.
Okay, tell me about Dark Crystal.
No, as a kid, we had the Disney Channel. Like it was a paid channel in cable, right?
It's all the bowling alley money.
Yeah, no, this
quarters.
is pre bowling alley money.
Oh, okay.
And so I watched the Disney Channel, and so every morning I watched Fraggle Rock. Because it was on before I went to school.
I don't think I ever watched Fraggle
Dude,
Rock.
Fraggle Rock. And I loved the
it's
Muppets.
puppets, yeah.
The Muppet Show was also another show I loved as a kid.
I didn't watch Muppets, yeah.
So the Muppet Show and, man, Fraggle Rock was my freaking jam, dude. I loved me some Fraggle Rock. So I would watch like cartoons every morning before school. I would watch, they had like these half an hour of different vignettes from like all the cartoons. So all the classic cartoon movies or shows, I know them all. I know every single one of them inside and out, everything about them, because I lived on the Disney Channel. And then that Fraggle Rock played every morning, so every season of Fraggle Rock. My kids have all watched the whole season, every season of Fraggle Rock. I don't think I ever got into
Fraggle Rock. I definitely Muppets.
Loved it.
But yeah, Dark Crystal.
The Doozers.
And then if you've seen the Netflix, The Age of Resistance, which I don't think they're continuing, which is such a bummer. I
haven't watched. Are you talking about Age of Resistance? Is that the updated Fraggle or updated Dark Crystal?
That is the prelude
to Dark Crystal. I haven't watched it.
Oh, you got to watch it.
My son has watched it a ton, but I haven't ever. But yeah, I loved that movie, The Dark Crystal. That is a great movie to chat about.
There's a few like that, like Labyrinth, and then there's the Tom Cruise one. Do you remember that one? What was the
Legend?
Legend.
We got to talk about that one.
Yeah, there's a few of them. Okay, we're getting sidetracked, but those there's so many movies.
We definitely we need to make a note of Dark Crystal and.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, but Fraggle Rock. So yeah, my jam was Fraggle Rock, dude. I lived on Fraggle Rock and the Dozers, like everything about it. Because again, it was this adventure. Because he was like, they were in Fraggle Rock, which was this magical place. But then like his uncle or his grandfather or uncle or whatever was exploring the real world and like sending back postcards to him.
Man, I gotta watch it.
Oh, it's great. Oh, it's great. And so it was just so magical, and that idea of adventure and getting out and discovering the world was definitely influenced. And there's a part of me that like I want to go explore the world.
Yeah.
Like I
would be cool.
wish I had a lot of extra resources to go and just go to places. I love going to places. I love going anywhere. Any small town across the US. I would love to just drive to just random places, not even places like famous. Like I would like to just
it's crazy
to just go drive.
Big the United States is.
I just want to go and just see all the little places. I just love finding little places.
We just got to wait. I mean, the show is still new, so that it takes time for the billion viewers to start, to trickle
for it to
in the
pay
income.
off in such a way.
Next month though.
It's happening.
Yeah.
All right, man. Is that the review of
I think it was
John Morgan and the Sword and the Stone?
In his life. Small fraction, right?
Small fraction.
There's
of the legend that is JR.
JR.
Yeah, it's an enduring term.
Questions, submit them. We love to answer them.
Like us.
That'd be mental health questions
Subscribe.
Or just questions about us. If you have more questions about us, we're happy to answer them.
The Q&A will be a great point to
bring up any type of questions and fun questions too. So if you want to bring up mental health questions or you just want to bring up some fun questions.
Because we have all the answers as we've established.
Yes, you should know that. Unless this is your first. If this is your first listen,
you might not be aware of that.
You should know we will answer the question.
Correctly.
Oh, it will be the answer.
Correctly.
Yes.
Yes, I'm with you. All right.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, peace out.
Adios.
Bye.